Hi, I'm Doccy B from the Ministry of Eco-Education. This is a 5-minute update on waste and why recycling isn't the answer. This topic is close to my heart as I gained a PhD in waste management back in the 90s. So let's talk about what's actually going on and what we can do about it in our classrooms. This video is based on two chunky reports, Water Waste 3.0 from the World Bank, published in March, and the Circularity Gap Report 2025, produced by the Circular Economy Foundation in collaboration with Deloitte. We are using more and more of Earth's resources each year. In 2025 alone, humans used about 100 gigatons of material resources. The Circularity Gap Report in 2024 suggested in the 5 years between 2018 and 2023, we used 28% of all the materials humanity has consumed since 1900. To put it lightly, this is not sustainable. Earth Overshoot Day is the date each year when humanity's demand for ecological resources and services exceeds what Earth can regenerate in that same year. From that day onward, we are effectively in ecological deficit, depleting natural stocks and accumulating waste. In 2025, Earth Overshoot Day for the globe was 24th of July, meaning humanity used a full year's worth of renewable resources in just under 7 months. In the UK this year, we hit our Overshoot Day on May 22nd. It's better than Qatar on the 4th of February or the US on March 14th, but dire compared to less developed countries such as Ecuador or Cambodia, which are in November. Many materials we use are directly extracted from Earth. The global economy is currently only 6.9% circular, based on reused or recycled materials, down from about 9% 10 years ago. For every 100 tonnes of material flowing through our economy, the metals, the plastics, the food, the timber, the fossil fuels, fewer than 7 tonnes loop back. The rest is extracted, used, and then discarded. Recycling isn't really working. This is called the circularity gap, and the value of reused materials is the circularity metric. In 2022, the world generated 2.6 billion tonnes of household and business waste. In 2030, it's predicted to hit 3.9 billion tonnes, a 50% increase. It doesn't even include agricultural, industrial or sewage waste. Even in wealthy, high infrastructure countries with excellent collection systems, we are nowhere near closing the gap. Not because we're recycling less, we're actually recycling more in absolute terms, but extraction and consumption are growing so fast that recycling can't keep up. The gap is widening. Even if we recycled every single piece of waste that could technically be recycled globally without reducing overall consumption at all, the circularity metric would rise from 6.9 to roughly 25%. That's the ceiling. Why? Because most of what we make isn't designed to be recycled. Most plastics can only go through the process once or twice before the material quality degrades so much it becomes unusable. That's not recycling. That's downcycling, and eventually it still ends up in the ground, incinerated or as litter. I often say in nature there's no such thing as waste, everything gets reused. And most teachers have heard of the waste hierarchy, reduce, reuse, recycle. But in practice, in schools, in assemblies, in supermarket campaigns, we skip straight to recycling, thinking that's the answer. Let me give you the full picture from the top. Prevent, reduce, reuse, recycle, recover, dispose. Prevention means the waste never exists. That's the most powerful action we can take. Put simply, we need to buy less stuff. The Circularity Gap Report is clear that without radically rewiring systems of production and consumption across key systems from housing and food to mobility and manufacturing, we cannot close the gap. True circularity isn't about recovering more, it requires less in the first place. Here's the key insight to education. The linear economy wasn't an accident, it was designed. Products are engineered for obsolescence, not repair. Supply chains depend on cheap virgin materials, not recovered ones. Systems of taxation, subsidy and policy have been built around extraction, not sustainability. Teaching students that putting the right thing in the right bin is, and I say this with certainty, not accurate. Donut economics argues that humanity must live in a safe and just space between an ecological ceiling and a social foundation, meeting everyone's needs without overshooting planetary limits. It replaces endless GDP growth with a regenerative and distributive economy designed to thrive rather than expand. Kate Raworth developed the framework to challenge 20th century economic thinking and offer a bold, accessible model for 21st century transformation. Unfortunately, the UK is living well outside the donut's ecological boundaries at the outer edge of the donut, while still experiencing some social shortfalls in the middle. No country in the world currently lives fully inside the safe and just space, and the UK is firmly in the group of high-income nations, driving a disproportionate share of ecological overshoot. So what can we do in the classroom? First, change the narrative. When something is thrown away in your classroom, replace "is that recyclable" with "could we have avoided needing this at all?" Question everything. Question our consumption. That shift is the most important move you can make. You could run a waste audit to find out how much waste you're producing. You could use Earth Overshoot Day as a live event to really say, beyond this point, we are living beyond our ecological means. And teach the circularity gap or donut economics as a concept alongside life cycle analyses of different objects. What needs to change? This involves critical systems thinking, and it's one of the most important lessons to teach. So what next? Access your Ministry of Eco-Education account and use the big questions to green your curriculum. We have a whole theme on waste. Check out the fantastic donut economics resources for schools. Hold a trash and show or raise awareness of fast fashion, and consider how you can actively reduce food waste. Together these account for around 20% of greenhouse gas emissions, so it all links to climate change. Working to reduce waste can make learning really relevant and highly engaging. I hope I've given you some ideas. It's really time to question our consumption.